Story 1. Being sleep deprived does more than make you somewhat groggy. It impairs reaction time, judgment, mood, and health. Driving while tired is similar to driving under the influence of alcohol, yet many people do not treat it seriously. Story 2. When someone is not screaming in agony after sustaining a major injury, they may be unconscious or unable to breathe. If a person is screaming, they are at least conscious and breathing. Story 3. Pneumonia. I had it 20 years ago and it still scares me. It is not just a severe cold, the flu, or a sinus infection. It is a whole thing unto itself. You feel like you are drowning, you are delirious with fever, and you cough so much that your core muscles can no longer squeeze your chest, diaphragm, and lungs. It seems innocuous at first, like you are just waiting for it to pass, but it compounds until you are breathing so weakly that you just want to sleep. Took me months to recover. 200 years ago, I would have died. Story 4. Propaganda. You think you are immune to it and assume that only gullible people fall for it, yet most of the time you do not even notice when you are exposed to it. Story 5. Doom scrolling takes a toll on a person's mental health. Story 6. Avoid drinking grapefruit juice if you are taking medications on a specific list. Grapefruit juice alters liver enzymes, decreasing or increasing blood levels of certain drugs, which can cause serious side effects. Story 7. Enclosed spaces. Examples include old cisterns, water tanks, and other sealed spaces, especially those below ground such as caves. Noxious gases, including carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, can accumulate in these spaces. You may enter without noticing any odor, lose consciousness, and die. A person who attempts a rescue may also enter, lose consciousness, and die. Story 8. Ladders are often used improperly and are among the most dangerous items in many homes. Story 9. When taking a shower, one slip can break your neck and be fatal. This has happened to someone I know, yet we take that risk all the time and do not think about it. Story 10. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, acute depression, and a heartbroken Spanish ex-girlfriend. Story 11. Rock fishing is one of the most deadly activities in Australia. Story 12. Working in the prison system taught me that people are often the most dangerous force on earth, and few realize it. Most want to see the good in others, which leads them to overlook true intentions. People can act one way while holding completely different motives without you noticing. You never really know who someone is until they show you, and by then it may be too late. Story 13. Disregarding minor injuries. I had a very small scratch from a screwdriver that became infected after washing the dishes. It turned into a Staphylococcus aureus infection in a day or so, and I came very close to an amputation. I spent 10 days in the hospital having my tendon sheath rinsed. The sheath finally ruptured. I carry povidone iodine everywhere now. Story 14. Pregnancy and childbirth can be scary. There are so many things that can go wrong during pregnancy and the perinatal period. It is truly a miracle when you have a healthy baby. Story 15. I am going to say depression. I am having a rough time because my best friend is dealing with it right now and he is refusing help. We all silently hope it is just a phase he can crawl out of, but that does not change the real danger that he might do something irreparably harmful while in that state. I might lose my best friend while watching and feeling almost helpless. So, depression. Story 16. Staircases are particularly problematic in historic homes, before stairs were standardized. I cleaned some very old houses, and the staircases are either extremely steep and narrow or very shallow and narrow. They are almost always narrow. Railings are sometimes dangerously low or entirely absent. Modern stairs can also be hazardous depending on the materials and finishes. A small lip can catch toes. People sometimes install carpet runners without properly adhering them, which creates a slipping and tripping hazard. Do not attempt a do-it-yourself installation unless it is done correctly. There is a reason modern builds often place the primary suite on the ground level. Stairs are especially dangerous for older adults with mobility issues. I had a client who fell down his modern, carpeted staircase onto the hardwood floor and had to be airlifted to a trauma center. He lost 3 months of memory. He is now barely mobile despite being physically fit beforehand, and his brain has not returned to its previous condition nearly a year later. He missed his son's wedding. Story 17. Many people do not recognize addiction early in life. Too many people are functioning alcoholics and people who use cannabis and do not see a problem with it. Story 18. Texting while driving or driving after drinking alcohol. Story 19. Lack of sleep is not usually life-threatening, although it does decrease your lifespan over time. Instead, the quality of your life suffers. You will have less energy, enjoyment, and curiosity. You will feel uncomfortable and unmotivated. Story 20. Cheerleading has one of the highest catastrophic injury rates among all sports. Story 21. I had peptic ulcers. I almost died because of how much the ulcer was bleeding. Story 22. Garage door springs are absolutely terrifying, especially if you do not know what you are doing. Story 23. Driving near a semi-truck. Many people assume we are immobile obstructions. The truth is we are 80,000-pound kinetic energy bombs that win every encounter with anything smaller than a freight train or another truck. I care about you, which is why I sacrifice a normal life to keep your grocery stores stocked with fresh food. I look out for you as much as I can, but beyond a certain point you have to watch out for yourselves. That means staying well away from us and driving extremely conservatively or defensively when you must be near us. You do not need to see many truck versus car accidents to know this is true. Shaving 5 seconds off your commute is not worth your life. Story 24. Not going to the dentist can lead to death from untreated dental issues. Story 25. Religion has been used as a weapon many times throughout history. It is especially dangerous when combined with ignorance and mob mentality. Story 26. Road rage. Sure, go ahead and flip off the driver who just cut you off. But you do not know that the driver is on a methamphetamine binge, has multiple outstanding warrants, and a loaded gun. Story 27. Diabetes. I have known many people with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Many of them did not take the disease seriously and failed to care for themselves properly. That cost some of them limbs and, in some cases, their lives. I do not have diabetes, but several of my family members do. I find it terrifying. Diabetes can cause so much irreversible harm to the body when ignored. The fact that it can apparently be so easily ignored makes it even more frightening. Story 28. Open cuts can become infected. A small wound can quickly lead to sepsis if bacteria enter. Story 29. As someone who works in the medical field, I know that eating can be complex. Many things can go wrong with the act of swallowing. Dysphagia is surprisingly common. Story 30. Cows can absolutely destroy you with minimal force, and you would have little or no chance. Story 31. Driving at high speed. It's all fun and games until someone dies and you have to carry that guilt for the rest of your life. Postscript. I haven't killed anyone, but I have met people who have carried that guilt. Story 32. Online bullying while your personal information is publicly available, including your home address. Story 33. Sitting too long or too often. Yes, I'm writing this while I sit on the couch. I'm far from an expert on anything, but I don't think our bodies are meant to stay in one spot as much as some of us do. Story 34. Trauma, even childhood neglect, can severely impact you for the rest of your life and requires constant upkeep to remain healthy. Story 35. If you mix household cleaning products, you can produce and release chlorine gas, which is highly toxic. Story 36. Wet floor tiles turn every person into a cartoon character with no traction. Story 37. Dust from flour, coffee creamer, and similar materials can become explosive when the particle-to-air mixture is within the flammable range and an ignition source is present. Story 38. Hip waders can pull you under if you trip and they fill with water. Choose a pair with quick-release straps. Story 39. I work at a tree care company, so I recommend removing a tree. Trying to take a tree down by yourself if you are inexperienced can quickly lead to serious injury or death. I hear many horror stories from people with experience. Story 40. If someone has weakness on one side of the body and cannot speak fluently, They may be having a stroke, which is a medical emergency. Story 41. Work contracts can be dangerous. Every time you sign a document, you put yourself at risk. The number of provisions an employer can add after you have already signed is terrifying. You can try to sue them later, but do you really trust your country to protect you from people far more powerful and wealthy than you? Story 42. Meeting people from Tinder or other online platforms within hours of meeting them can feel exciting and often seems fine, but sometimes it leads to situations you cannot get out of. This is not just a risk for women. Men do the same, thinking they will be fine, and can end up in just as much trouble. Story 43. Being hogtied and gagged with dirty socks and duct tape wrapped around your mouth. Story 44. Moving gun safes can be difficult. Some weigh over 1,000 pounds, and people want them in their basements. I can appreciate putting your guns in a safe, but people need to pay the right movers to move them because regular furniture movers do not carry that equipment on their trucks. Story 45. High-tension lines sit there silently, appearing non-threatening, until they are set loose or break. Then they can cut you cleanly in two. Story 46. Inhaling helium to make your voice sound funny is dangerous. Helium is not oxygen, and if you inhale it more than once or twice because you like the effect, you could pass out from oxygen deprivation. Story 47. Digging a hole on the beach too close to the water can be dangerous. We all overestimated the risk of quicksand in real life because of childhood television, but this is one situation where it can be hazardous. Story 48. Activity immediately after waking is fine for healthy people, but not for those with diabetes, cardiovascular issues, or sleep deprivation. They should pace themselves to avoid an adverse physical reaction. Story 49. Delivery driving ranks higher on the list of dangerous jobs than police work. Story 50. Marijuana is addictive for many more people than we have been willing to recognize, including myself for many years. Story 51. Get your news off social media. The algorithms pick and choose what you see as fact. Do you want to be controlled? Because this is how they do it. Story 52. Water. Fecal contamination can cause choking. If material enters the lungs, it can lead to pneumonia. Cells are about 70% water. While hydration is important, overhydration can be dangerous. Story 53. Chronic dehydration is more dangerous than people realize. Many assume dehydration only matters if you are stranded in the desert or running a marathon. You may not feel thirsty much of the time, yet dehydration affects mood, focus, and energy. Story 54. Driving while tired is dangerous. People fear drunk drivers but underestimate how dangerous a tired brain is. Microsleep episodes occur without warning and last a few seconds, which is essentially driving blind at 80 kilometers per hour. Story 55. Garage door tension cables can kill you quickly. Story 56. Driving. Working too much. Loneliness. Deep frying. Using a winch. Chainsaw grinder attachments used for shaping wood. Vending machines. 2 insurance adjusters die every year when they tip over. Do not let light-up snack silos fool you. They can be deadly. Story 57. Smoking cannabis. It is legal and has lost its gateway reputation, but it is still a drug. I am a daily smoker trying to quit, laughing out loud. Story 58. Medium to large-sized herbivores can be dangerous. Most predators avoid people when possible. Bison, moose, deer, cows, horses, and hippos can seriously injure people. Story 59. Swimming in lakes without flotation is extremely dangerous. In deep, cloudy water, you can sink a foot and disappear. In clear water, people can see you and help if you go under, but most lakes are not clear and you cannot see what is in the water. People have been caught on trot lines or branches. I am a strong swimmer, probably better than 95% of people, but I will not do this anymore. In open water, something could happen that makes your swimming ability irrelevant. If you are going to swim in a lake, wear a flotation device. Story 60. A blue-ringed octopus, so cute but deadly. Story 61. My car insurance rate is very high. I recently discovered that rates also depend on your address. and apparently the multiple yearly deaths at an intersection down my street are causing this. I cannot tell you how many accidents I have seen and their consequences. Stay safe. Story 62. Weed and alcohol. Both are socially acceptable if you are in a legal state, and I partake in them, but it is crazy how little respect so many people give them. Story 63. When you are driving, you are trusting other drivers on a shared road with a battering ram that weighs around 2 tons. Story 64. Wearing a claw clip in your hair while in a car. Repeated coronavirus disease 2019 infections. Story 65. Put your fire all the way out and never leave it unattended. My roommate started a fire in the pit last night and did not put it out. My room smelled like a campfire when I woke up, so I poured water on it to extinguish it about 6 hours later. The backyard is filled with dry, dead leaves. They did not have the grate on top of the fire pit. Fortunately, the wind did not pick up last night. Story 66. Walking. I am a registered nurse and worked for a neurosurgeon. We treated several patients whose lives were drastically altered after tripping and falling from a standing height and hitting their heads. Humans can be remarkably resilient, yet also extremely fragile. Story 67. Ignoring a cold by continuing to go to work can be dangerous. Stress hormones suppress your immune response, so you may feel fine at first and then suddenly develop pneumonia or another serious illness. This happened to me twice, and it was not fun at all. Story 68. Sneezing can be dangerous. Holding in a sneeze can cause serious injury, and there have been rare cases of death related to sneezing. Story 69. 90% of the items stored in people's garages are extremely dangerous and carcinogenic. Many people do not understand that cancer does not form overnight. It can take 15 to 20 years or more after an initial exposure to develop. As a result, most people do not handle these chemicals and substances with the necessary caution. They often do not use gloves or respirators as much as they should. Spray painting is a good example. Always use a respirator when spray painting. Many people do not because they feel fine afterward, but the real consequences of not using protection usually appear years later. Story 70. Lack of sleep weakens your immune system and increases the risk of heart disease, diabetes, depression, high blood pressure, stroke, and obesity. It also impairs mental abilities, concentration, and memory, and disrupts hormone levels and sex drive. It is shocking how many people brag about how little sleep they get, as if it is a badge of honor. Story 71. Avoid petty speculative gossip about people you do not know. You have no idea what others are going through, and one rude remark can be enough to hurt someone. You do not need to say everything you think. Story 72. Wild animals, even when small and cute, usually prefer to flee rather than fight. But be aware they can choose to fight and can be very dangerous. Every time I crate one of my 11-pound domesticated cats for the veterinarian and come away feeling like I barely won, I imagine what a one-on-one encounter with a mountain lion would be like. I would be absolutely wrecked. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.